We left off last in Genesis chapter 29 with Jacob partaking of a feast, a wedding feast, and the bride getting ready to meet him on the wedding bed. And so we continue reading a sad yet happy tale. And let's read it. Genesis 29:23 to 28. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, who is that? That's Laban, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for a handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this you've done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, Hey, don't blame me. It must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. You know what? Fulfill her week, and we will give thee also this for the service which thou shalt serve with me for yet 7 more years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And Laban gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. Now, when I went to Sunday school, we had actually learned that Jacob was given Leah, and then he worked another 7 years, and that was given Rachel. But according to this, if we study it carefully, that just wasn't so, was it? Let's pick this apart and see what's going on here. In ancient times, the wife on her honeymoon night was covered with a veil. As a matter of fact, she had a veil all over her body. She'd come in covered with a veil, slip under the covers for her husband to do with her what he would. She was wearing a veil as a sign of purity and humility. But this is how Laban deceived Jacob. This cruel deception by Laban was not necessarily God's direct retribution for Jacob's deception of Isaac. Many commentators claim this. But I believe God had an even greater picture in mind. Leah was destined to be the mother of Judah, from which the Jews got their name, and through whom our Savior Jesus Christ would come. But it is ironic, however, that as Judah employed masterful deception or deceitfulness to receive the rights of the firstborn, another master deceiver, master deceitfulness from Laban, was employed in having the firstborn put in place of the younger. See the irony in that? He took on the rights of the firstborn, and then he married a firstborn. Huh? But there is something else. Leah was considered less attractive. In our last session, we were talking about how Leah was considered less attractive. Her eyes weren't brown. Her eyes weren't the proper shape that they should have been. But she must have been pleasant to look at. Otherwise, Jacob wouldn't have been fooled by the veil. Leah was considered less attractive than Rachel and had found no husband yet. That prevented her younger sister from being wed. resulting in both being well past the customary age of marrying. Did you know that? By the way, at his age, Jacob was too very past the way. Ha ha ha. He was 85 years old by now. So Laban was afraid no suitable husband would ever be found for Leah, and he tricked Jacob in marrying both. Marrying both? That's right. I'll explain that in a moment. He also hoped this would probably tie the very productive Jacob permanently to Laban's family. I see Laban was very selfish. He enjoyed all the proceeds of Jacob's skills in his work around his farm, around his flock. So Laban also hoped this would probably be, yes, we read that, very productive Jacob permanently being added to his family. Leah had also come to love Jacob. Leah fell in love with Jacob. And although her father's deceitfulness must have been both difficult and embarrassing for her as well as for Rachel, she went along with the plan in obedience to her father. So he expected to find Rachel, and he found Leah in bed with him instead. So, expecting the worst, Jacob complained to Laban the next morning after his deception. He pleaded. Now, this is something else. Laban pleaded the custom of the country. It is not the custom to be so in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. You realize that this was a perfectly worthless excuse? Because if this had really been the custom in Haran, which it probably was, he should have told Jacob of it before. Well, yeah, you're going to have to work for Rachel, but there is one stipulation here. There's one catch. He didn't say any of that. Laban was bold and daring in the defense of his conduct as he was as crafty in designing it. Yes, I'll give him Leah. So, what did he just say? And now, this is, let's read this again. It is not the custom to be so in our place, to give the younger before the firstborn. What more happened? In verses 27 and 28, we find out what Laban did to make Jacob feel at ease. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve with me, yet for 7 more years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. Huh? So after Jacob had served 7 years and then was forced to marry Leah, Laban finally gave Rachel to Jacob also for another 7 years of service. Jacob did not have to wait 7 years. He only had to wait 7 days. It was customary in those days to have a wedding feast that lasted a whole week to celebrate that new marriage. Wow, they knew how to party. But after this week, after the honeymoon week, that's what it was. Laban ended up giving him Rachel too. What a brilliant plan. You see, Jacob still got Rachel after the 7 years. So did he lie? Or maybe he did at first, but it didn't end up being a lie. Laban promised Rachel to him after 7 years. But he had to marry Leah first. Thus Jacob felt honored bound as soon as he went in to Rachel, finalized the marriage, consummated the marriage. And after he did this, Jacob felt honor bound to work 7 more years. Honor bound? Is this the same Jacob that deceived his own dad into getting the birthright? Yup. After 7 years living with Rachel and Leah and Laban in the same household, he grew to love Rachel more and more and more. And Laban saw that he would always keep his word. Well, Laban took full advantage of Jacob's unselfish love for Rachel and his newfound code of ethics. Remember, Laban now said, okay, you win. I'll give you Rachel now, after the week of festivities are done. But then you'll still have to work another 7 years to replace the dowry that she would have given me. Whew! Wow!
Wow.
Think about that. The main thing that prevented Jacob from now running off with both wives now that he got Rachel, the main thing is his growing sense of integrity. Do you think he wanted to work another day with a deceitful man like Laban? Of course not. But he performed his duty because of his growing sense of integrity. And that's my take on it. Now, a lot of people think integrity is a weakness. People with integrity are often taken advantage of, aren't they? But it isn't. Integrity is not a weakness. In fact, integrity is a strength of character. When I was out west in Alberta 8 years ago, I had joined up with a group of Christian men, and we called ourselves the Hitmen. Now, this was an odd name to be sure, but it meant something powerful in each man's life that was a member. HIT, H-I-T, stood for honesty, integrity, and truthfulness. Actually, honesty, integrity, and truth. You know what I pray every day? I pray every day that I will grow more and more and more. And that I will be remembered as a man of honesty, integrity, and truth. Is that your aim too?